The offseason has finally arrived. Let's talk about what Atlanta needs to do and when they need to do it. Yes, welcome on in to Braves Today for Monday, November 3rd. Your source for news, notes, and updates on your Atlanta Braves. I'm your host, Lindsay Crosby. You can follow me on social media at Crosby Baseball. You can follow the show on X, Braves_today. We have a Facebook page and an Instagram as well. And you can find all of my written work, bravestoday.com. That's the Braves Today Substack, as this is both a podcast and a newsletter. We're proudly part of the Believe Podcast Network and presented to you by FanDuel. Tons of offers out there right now since the major sports, minus baseball, are in season and playing right now. Go to FanDuel.com or download the FanDuel app today to get started. So the offseason is here, right? Fantastic ending to the World Series. They go to extras in Game 7 on Saturday. Dodgers win the second consecutive World Series. I do think, by the way, it's time to call them a dynasty now. They've played in the World Series 5 times in the last 9 years. So, yeah, they've... It's definitely a dynasty, and it's hard to see that ending anytime soon. This whole World Series, the end of it was frustrating because Toronto had so many opportunities to win, and it's really more so Toronto lost than LA won, but the Dodgers did what they had to do in Game 7 to extend the game to extras and win it in extras, and Yamamoto was just phenomenal. Now, what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about the offseason has officially started. So, this show... a lot of this is going to be, here is exactly what Atlanta has to do and when they have to do it through the course of the winter. And the first couple things have already happened, okay? November 2nd, yesterday, 2 things on the calendar already happened because it's the day after the World Series. So at 9 a.m. Eastern, players officially became free agents. The Braves had just a couple guys, right? They had Marcell Ozuna, Raisel Iglesias, Charlie Morton, and reliever Connor Siebold. Those 4 guys all officially became free agents at 9 a.m., which means you get those 40-man roster spots back. We're going to get to that in just a minute. The other thing that happened yesterday was the Rawlings Gold Glove Awards. As expected, Matt Olson did win the Gold Glove in the National League at first base, beating out Bryce Harper of the Phillies and Spencer Steer of the Reds. It is Matt Olson's 3rd Gold Glove. He won at the American League in 2018 and in 2019 with the Athletics. And this one was pretty obvious that it was going to happen. He already won the Fielding Bible Award as the best defensive first baseman in the majors, not just National League, all of the majors. He was first in fielding run value. He was second in outs above average. He was first in defensive runs saved by a lot. So, shout out to Matt Olson there for winning. Nick Allen lost the Gold Glove to Mason Wynn of the St. Louis Cardinals. So, that was Sunday. Between now and the 6th, this is your exclusive negotiating window. So, Atlanta's free agents, right? Your Marcell Ozuna, your Iglesias, your Charlie Morton. The Braves at any time can sign them to new deals. Because they ended the season on Atlanta's roster, Atlanta can sign those guys to contracts at any time. I don't expect them to bring back Charlie Morton. I don't expect them to bring back Marcell Ozuna. Raisel Iglesias is a possibility. And later this week, I'm going to give out like my ideal offseason, trying to be realistic and talking about shortstop, rotation, bullpen, if you add a bat, all that stuff, kind of laying out what I think that's going to look like or what my idealized one, and then maybe a realistic one. And if you have ideas on an ideal offseason and a realistic offseason, I want to hear from you. By the way, you can leave them, if you're on YouTube, leave in the comments down below. If you're on social media, I'm at Crosby Baseball. You can even email us, contact@bravestoday.com. But the big date that's coming up, and probably what we'll spend the rest of this segment on, is November 6th. So Thursday. because 5 p.m. Eastern is the big time for like 3 very important things to happen. Some of them don't pertain to the Braves this year, some of them do. Number 1 is all of your decisions on on options and qualifying offers are due. Okay. Qualifying offer thing doesn't really pertain to Atlanta, right? Atlanta's not going to give anybody a $22.025 million contract for a 1-year deal. Marcell Ozuna's not going to get that. Raisel Iglesias is not going to give that. So it doesn't pertain to Atlanta. The option decisions thing does. Okay? The Braves have 4 club options they need to decide on, and there's 1 player option from Ha-Seong Kim. So the club options, $18 million for Chris Sale. Yes or no? Feels like it's going to be yes. I mean, there's zero reason to not pick that up. Ozzie Albies, $7 million club option. The difference is only $3 million. He has a $4 million buyout if they don't pick up the option. $3 million won't get you anything in free agency as far as a starter is concerned. So they're going to pick that up. 2 different relievers in this group. Pierce Johnson for $7 million. Tyler Kinley for $5.5 million. Feels likely they both get picked up. Maybe one of them doesn't if Atlanta's trying to save some money. But it feels likely they're both going to get picked up, okay? And then the last decision here is Ha-Seong Kim has a player option for $16 million. We've gone back and forth on this. We've talked about both possible scenarios and situations here. I honestly, at this point, do not know what is going to happen. We did a show last week about his options here, right? What would make him pick up the option? What would make him decline the option but sign in free agency with Atlanta? What would make him decline the option and sign somewhere else? We did that show last week. Go check that out. It's in the feed if you want to know more about that. By the way, shameless plug, today's newsletter is about if Ha-Seong Kim goes somewhere else, what do you do? We talk about the free agent options. We talk about trade targets. That's today's newsletter over at bravestoday.com. Free or paid, subscriptions there help us out a ton. So that is all due at 5 p.m. Eastern on the 6th, which is Thursday. The team will know that is the time the decision is due to the league office. The team will know before then what's going to happen. Okay? There's no way the Braves don't find out from Kim and Boris what the decision is until it hits the commissioner's office. They will be told. Again, my expectation is that Kim is declining the player option. We'll see. Maybe he picks it up. If he picks it up, a lot of stuff just got solved. But my expectation is that he declines the option. The other big thing that has to happen that day is players on the 60-day injured list need to be removed from the 60-day injured list. Now, good news and bad news here. Good news, you cleared 3 spots by the free agency of Ozuna, Iglesias, and Morton. So that's good news. You also cleared 5 spots last month, back in October, when you outrighted Luke Williams, Jared Kelenic, Alexis Diaz, Dane Dunning, Sandy Leon. You outrighted all of them to AAA. They all elected free agency. Sandy Leon has since signed back with Atlanta on a minor league deal. So you cleared out 5 spots there. You cleared out 3 more spots with the free agents. Atlanta's 40-man roster is still at 43 players. So just to get to the bare minimum, just to get to the maximum of 40 allowed, when they take everybody off the 60-day IL, 3 players are gone this week. Sometime between now and Thursday, 3 more players have to be taken off the 40-man roster. If I had to guess at this exact moment, it's probably some sort of relief arms, right? Maybe it's an Austin Cox. Maybe it's a Nathan Wiles. Jose Suarez is a guy that they have DFA'd or outrighted at least once before. Maybe Alek Manoah, they decide they're not going to tender him a contract, right? There's a couple different options here, but 3 more spots have to be cleared by Thursday just to take everybody off the 60-day IL. And then after that, anybody you want to either add in a trade or sign in free agency, you have to make a spot for them. You can't place players back on the 60-day IL until spring training. So you've got to clear spots. Do they try to pass Chucky Robinson, the third catcher they claimed off of waivers from the Dodgers? Did they try to pass him through waivers? They got him because the Dodgers had waived him trying to make a roster spot. Do they look and say, hey, we have 8 infielders. Do we let one of them go? I do want to point out, if Ha-Seong Kim declines his player option, then that spot will open up. He is still counted in the 40-man roster calculation because he has that player option. The free agents are already off. Ozuna's already off. Morton's already off. Iglesias is already off. Ha-Seong Kim is still on the 40-man roster because he has the player option. If he declines the player option and goes to free agency, they'll get that spot back. So that's why the deadline for all of this stuff is the same time. Because all of these things are connected. Atlanta's probably not going to want to DFA somebody if they don't need to lose them if Kim's leaving. So that's why all this stuff's connected, right? Maybe it's Brett Wisely. They grabbed him really late in the season. Maybe it's Vidal Brujan. Maybe they go to the outfield and they say, hey, Jake Fraley, we're not going to tender him a contract in arbitration. So we're going to go ahead and let him go now to get that spot back when he comes off the 60-day IL. Who knows? A lot of options here. The final thing happening on the 6th, on Thursday, although it's not at 5 p.m., is the Silver Slugger Awards are being announced. Matt Olson's a nominee at first base. Austin Riley is a nominee at third base. I honestly don't think either one of them wins. First base is Olson, Pete Alonso, and Freddie Freeman. Alonso probably wins that. Third base is Riley, Matt Chapman, Manny Machado, Max Muncy. I don't know who's going to win that, but I'm guessing it's not Riley. So, lastly, a lot of stuff happening on Thursday. Our Friday show is going to be packed full of stuff, breaking down everything that happened on Thursday and the implications of it. In just a minute, that's not the end of the offseason work. There's a lot of other important dates coming up for the Braves. We'll break those down next, right here on Braves Today. But first, today's episode is brought to you by our friends at Encase Cards, custom card manufacturer. You upload your source photos of whatever it might be. Youth sports makes a ton of sense, but it doesn't have to be that. It can be wedding photos, graduation photos, the winner and loser of your fantasy league, whatever it might be. You upload those. You can choose the different holographic and foil options. Their designers can go in and help with the background, getting all of the pertinent statistics and everything on there. They then print it on high quality cardstock, slab it in a plastic case, slab it, put a plastic case with a built-in stand on it, and ship it to you. Makes a fantastic gift. My nephew is turning 2. I'm getting one of his family photos and putting that in there for him because he's becoming a big baseball fan. So I'm getting them to help me make one of those for him. So encasecards.com, NCASCcards.com, promo code Braves Today gets you 20% off your order. That's encasecards.com, NCASCcards.com, promo code Braves Today. Welcome back to Braves Today. Lindsay Crosby, breaking down the offseason, the dates you need to know about. We wrote a longer version of this article over at Braves Today on Sunday. I'll find a way to pin it on the homepage so you can always kind of go back and reference and see. But the next thing is the next week, right? We talked about a lot of stuff on the 6th. Qualifying offers, 60-day IL, free agents can start signing, all of that stuff. November 10th is the next big day in this whole process because that is, well, I guess there's two things. The thing that's not as important, it's a Monday, is the start of the GM meetings in Las Vegas. A lot of deals don't actually happen at the GM meetings, but the groundwork for trades and things like that is laid at the general manager meetings. The media in attendance, a lot of it's like the BBWAA members, the official beat writers, all of that. They get to talk. They get to talk to the GMs and things like that. We'll get something from Alex Anthopoulos. I'll do my best to bring you everything I can bring you from it. I'm not going to be there, but do my best to bring you whatever we can. But also on that day, Rookie of the Year award winners are announced. We talked about this on Friday. I expect Drake Baldwin to be the guy. I expect him to win the National League Award. Back on Friday's show, we broke down the financial implications, how big Atlanta's draft pool would be if you get that top 6 pick, plus you get a PPI pick for Drake Baldwin. So go check that out. Again, it's in the feed from Friday. The rest of the awards are during the course of next week while the GMs are at the GM meetings are Monday through Thursday. And so Monday, again, Rookie of the Year. Tuesday is Manager of the Year. Wednesday is the Cy Young. Thursday is MVP and all the rest. Reliever of the Year, Comeback Player of the Year. Ronald Acuna Jr. could win Comeback Player of the Year in the National League. The Hank Aaron Award winner and the All MLB teams are revealed there on Thursday. There's no additional compensation for Atlanta as an organization in those awards. And from the people that I've talked to, there's no incentives in any Braves player contracts for you winning any of those awards. So the only one that really kind of matters is Drake Baldwin on Monday for Rookie of the Year. The Braves do have some guys up for the All-MLB team. There's a first and a second team. Matt Olson's nominated at first base. Acuna's in the outfield. Drake Baldwin's at catcher. Chris Sale's at starting pitcher. So Sale and Acuna could possibly make it. 3 outfielders, 5 starting pitchers per team. I think second team is probably where you end up seeing Sale and Acuna if they make it. I don't know if they will. But I do think they're candidates there to make it on the second team. The next date that actually matters here is November 18th. It's a Tuesday, the next week. There's 2 things that have to happen. Again, one of them doesn't pertain to Atlanta directly. One of them does. The thing that isn't super urgent for Atlanta right there is qualifying offer decisions by the players have to be made. Remember, this week, you have to decide as an organization, are you offering that player a qualifying offer or not? By the 18th is when the player needs to decide if they're going to accept it or reject it. If they accept it, they are signing a 1-year, $22.025 million deal to play for you in 2026. If they decline it, then they are free agents, but that qualifying offer rejection is attached to them, meaning the team that signs them will have to give up draft pick compensation. And that's where it does impact Atlanta, because the Braves reset the CBT this year. All indications are that they did not end up going over. And so if Atlanta signs a player who has rejected a qualifying offer in this free agent cycle, they will lose their second highest draft pick and $500,000 from the international bonus pool for 2026. And the hard part here is the PPI pick, the pick you could potentially get for Drake Baldwin. And again, we'll know that next week. The pick you get for Drake Baldwin is one that you could lose to a qualifying offer guy. So there's 2 ways to think about this. Way number 1 is it's an extra draft pick. Are you okay just giving that draft pick up to sign a qualifying offer player? The second way to think about it is because that pick is so high, it's right after the first round, it's a couple $1 million in bonus pool. It is costlier to give this pick up than it would be to give up your second round pick, which would fall later, a little bit later in the draft. So 2 schools of thought. If there was an offseason, you would sign a qualifying offer player, this is the one to do it, right? Simply from the perspective of you've reset the CBT, so your penalty is lower than if you had not reset it. As a reminder, if Atlanta had not reset the CBT, they would lose their second and fifth highest picks and $1 million from their international bonus pool for 2026. So rather than losing a second and a fifth round pick, or second and fifth highest selections, sorry. So if you get the PPI, it ends up being a first and a fourth. Rather than losing 2 picks, they lose 1. And rather than losing $1 million, they lose $500,000 in international bonus pool space. So again, I don't think Atlanta's going to do it. AA's done it one time with the Braves, and that was to sign Will Smith at closer. And in retrospect, that was kind of a weird deal. It was a kind of weird contract to sign unless Anthopoulos knew that you have to have a player named Will Smith on your roster to win a World Series. Because that has continued. Will Smith of the Dodgers won it in 2020. Will Smith, the reliever, won it in 21 and in 22 and in 2023. And then Will Smith, the catcher, won it in 24 and 25. Find a Will Smith, sign a Will Smith, pop another qualifying offer to get anybody named Will Smith on the roster. Because apparently that's a prerequisite to winning the World Series. 6 consecutive years, a Will Smith has won the World Series. Again, I don't think Atlanta's going to sign a qualifying offer guy, but just know that that's how that works. If they're going to do it, this is the offseason to do it. Dylan Cease would be a qualifying offer guy, right? Kyle Tucker would be a qualifying offer guy. I don't think Atlanta's going to go that high, but you get the idea. Zach Gallen's probably a qualifying offer guy this offseason. You also need to make, on this date, on the 18th, you also need to make your Rule 5 protection decisions. And this is prospects that will be eligible for this winter's Rule 5 draft. That is based on when they entered your organization and their age. So if they entered the organization over the age of 18, it's 4 years later. So you're looking at the 2021 draft class. If it's players who enter the organization under the age of 18, then it's 5 years. So that's international free agents, that's prep draftees. Atlanta's already made a couple of these decisions because they added guys to the 40-man roster. Hayden Harris was going to be Rule 5 eligible. They added him to the 40-man roster, so therefore that's taken care of. Your notable guys here, Blake Burkhalter, the righty out of Auburn, David McCabe, the corner infielder, third base, first base. Burkhalter to me is a lock. McCabe is really the only kind of question if they protect him or not that I have. I feel like everybody else outside of that is probably somebody that they just do not have the 40-man space to protect. And Boris Tavares, EJ Exposito, Kevin Kilpatrick, Adam Mayer. Guys that you would love to have in your organization, but I don't think Atlanta's able to protect them with a 40-man spot because they don't have enough 40-man spots, which is not a situation Atlanta's usually in. Normally the Braves have extra spots available. They just don't right now. And then the final thing that's coming up here in November is the non-tender deadline. November 21st at 8 p.m. This is one of those deadlines, it's a Friday. This is one of those deadlines that spurs action because guys who are potentially being non-tendered sometimes get traded. We saw the Braves make a big non-tender deadline trade 2 years ago when they got Aaron Bummer from the White Sox for like 5 dudes. 4 40-man roster guys who were all going to be non-tendered and a fringe prospect. On this date, so Friday the 21st, by 8 p.m., anybody who is either arbitration eligible or a pre-arbitration player, years 1 through 3 are team control, you either have to tender them a contract offer or do what's called non-tendering, which means you don't give them a contract offer, they don't go to waivers, they immediately become a free agent, and they can sign with anybody. you're not required to agree to a salary with those players. You just have to offer them a contract. So if a guy is arbitration eligible, but you don't want to pay him what the projection is, you just have to indicate that you are going to offer him a contract at that point, and you're good. Some of the guys who are going to be non-tendered will agree to a lower salary right there to not get non-tendered. So you do see some signings happen around that deadline. Like I said earlier, you do see some trades happen around that deadline. And Atlanta's list of arbitration eligible, there are 9 guys here. And some of these decisions are kind of a doozy, right? Like Dylan Lee, $1.9 million, you're paying that. You're 100% you're paying that. Eli White, $1.2 million, you're paying that. You're not thinking twice about it, right? Joey Wentz, 1.1. If he's a long guy in the bullpen for you who makes a couple spot starts, that's fine. You're paying that, right? But Jake Fraley, $3.6 million for his final year of team control. Does Atlanta pay that, or do they non-tender him? Joel Payamps, who they got off of waivers from the Brewers, $3.4 million arbitration projection. That comes courtesy of MLB trade rumors. Should have mentioned that. Alek Manoah, $2.2 million. Do they tender him as he continues to rehab from Tommy John, or do they just let him walk? Vidal Brujan, $800,000 projection. Nick Allen, $1.5 million projection. If you bring Hassan Kim back, I assume you bring back Nick Allen. Maybe not. Do you bring back Vidal Brujan and Allen? Do you bring back one or the other? Decisions to be made here. I honestly wish the Rule 5 deadline and the non-tender deadline were at the same time. Because what's really annoying is when the team has to get rid of a guy that they would have otherwise maybe done something for to make a Rule 5 spot. Like, I just wish these deadlines were together. But whatever. That is it for November. After that, let's talk about what Atlanta is going to actually do to improve the roster, as well as what's important to know in December and January. We'll do that next, right here on Braves Today. Final segment of Braves Today, trying to tell you everything you need to know about when things are going to happen this offseason. December, one of the big kind of moments where transactions happen, the winter meetings. This year, they're December 7th through 10th in Orlando. And you'll remember 2 years ago, the first night of the winter meetings, the Sunday night, that's when the Jared Kelenic deal broke. When the giant Jared Kelenic trade broke. And we got a chance to talk to Brian Sittker about it the very next day. So be on the lookout. 7th through 10th of December is when that happens. And there's a lot of things that happen there at the winter meetings. On December 7th, the Hall of Fame Contemporary Baseball Era Committee votes. And they will announce who of their 8 finalists received 12 of 16 votes to go in the Hall of Fame. They're only looking at 1980 forward, so this is where Dale Murphy would have a chance to make the Hall of Fame. Needs to happen. Dale Murphy's a Hall of Famer. Come on. Also in the winter meetings on Tuesday the 9th, that's where we find out the draft lottery. That's where they go and they do the drawing to decide who is picking the top 6 picks. They only select the top 6 picks. And then after that, it's the standard formula they have based on record and everything for the non-playoff teams to fill out the rest of the draft order. We'll talk more about that as we get closer. On Wednesday, the final day of the winter meetings, is the Rule 5 draft. Atlanta surprised us last year. They took 2 guys. Anderson Pilar, the reliever from the Marlins. Christian Cairo, the infielder from the Guardians. They sent both those guys back to their original teams in spring training. But Anderson Pilar got released by Miami in August and joined the Braves on a minor league deal. So there's that. And then in January 8th is the arbitration contract deadline. This is the final date where if you have not already reached a salary agreement with an arbitration eligible player, the player and the team both have to present their figures and schedule a hearing. Those are usually done in early February. The actual hearings are, but the deadline's January 8th. Almost every MLB team, including Atlanta's, what's known as a file and trial team. Meaning, once January 8th gets here, once that deadline hits, they will no longer negotiate a 1-year deal with you. They're going to go to the hearing. Now, if you want to sign a multi-year deal, they'll negotiate that. But the team will not negotiate with you after that deadline. They're going to go to the hearing. It's called file and trial. Just about every MLB team does that now. January 15th is when the international free agency signing period opens. You know, the 16-year-olds outside of the U.S., Canada, and Puerto Rico. And none of these are foreign professionals, right? The over 25-year-old people who have played in foreign leagues for 6 years, right? Not those guys. But the 16-year-olds signing out of the Dominican or out of Venezuela or Curacao or Australia. We've seen that being more and more of a thing in recent years. And then after that, you get into pitchers and catchers reporting in early February and all of that. And Atlanta's stated preferences here, the stated things they want to work on. And I want to get your input here. I mentioned it earlier in the show. I'm going to mention it again. They want shortstop. They want rotation. They want the bullpen, which they always want the bullpen. They always want to reinforce the bullpen, which is fine. And there's been conversation about if the money is there, getting some sort of big bat for the offense. And everybody kind of has different thoughts as to who that should be. They're not going to play in the Kyle Tucker realm. We all know they're not. Let's not pretend that Atlanta's going to do that. But what form does that take? Do they try and find an outfielder, a corner outfielder who can rotate in with Profar and Acuna in the DH role? Do they look for an option at second base? I don't think Ha-Seong Kim qualifies as the big bat you're looking for. He is a better hitter than Nick Allen. He will be a better offensive contributor than Nick Allen. He's not the big bat. Does Atlanta get a big bat? And if they do, who is it? I've talked on here before about a platoon bat for the corner outfield, right? Somebody like a Miguel Andujar, a Rob Refsnyder, something like that, who platoons, hits lefties really well. I like the idea for Andujar that he can play third and first for you also. He can help cover those positions. Do you try and, rather than in a free agency signing, do you try to make a trade and get a guy like a Brandon Lau out of Tampa Bay? He hasn't played the outfield in a hot minute. I think the last time he made multiple starts in the outfield was 2021. He made 11 starts in the outfield, played like 88 total innings out there. He's almost essentially a full-time second baseman at this point in time. But do you get somebody like that who can play second base and who can cover first if something happens? Is that your idea of a big bat? Because last year, he hit 31 home runs, bat 256 for the Rays, drove in 83 runs, scored 79 runs in like 130 games. Is that the idea of a big bat here? Is that kind of what you do? That's like figuring out that part of the equation is the big question mark for me. Simply because I already don't know, one, we don't know what Ha-Seong Kim's going to do. And a big part of that is Ha-Seong Kim. And again, if Ha-Seong Kim does not end up signing with Atlanta, BravesToday.com, today's newsletter, I've got the trade options as reported by reputable sources that who should be available, the free agent options, we break down all of that, the pros and cons of signing Bo Bichette, all that other stuff. It's all there, BravesToday.com, go check it out. But you need shortstop. You need a starter. You need to work on the bullpen. You probably need more than one arm in the bullpen. And I say some of that not knowing, is Grant Holmes going to be there or not? Where are you going to play Ronaldo Lopez? We did get video from Friday. Grant Holmes is in Northport. He's throwing. He reportedly feels good. So it looks like as of now, he's going to be back for 2026. We'll see what they do. Still feels like you want at least a closer, if not a second piece for your pen. So I want to hear from you. Again, Thursday, my goal on Thursday's show is free agency is opening that day. My goal on Thursday's show is to talk about my ideal offseason and then what I think the realistic offseason is like. Who do they get for shortstop? What happens in the rotation? Like, who is the starting pitcher addition? Who is the bullpen addition? Who's the additional bat they add and where do they play? I also want to hear from you. Again, contact@bravestoday.com. You can put it on social media. You can leave it in the comments if you're watching on YouTube. Let me know what you think Atlanta's, or I guess your ideal offseason is, and then the realistic offseason. Because it feels like, from a financial perspective, you're going to have to either cut a really good trade deal or cut a corner in free agency somewhere. You can't afford to get top of the line options in free agency at every position. So let me know. What's the ideal offseason? What's the realistic offseason? Best ones, we'll talk about them on the show. This has been Braves Today for Monday, November 3rd. Do me a favor. If you're listening on audio, a 5-star review, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast, that'd be super awesome. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, tell your friends. BravesToday.com for the newsletter, Braves Today on YouTube for the podcast, or in your favorite podcast app. Until next time, this has been Braves Today.